Um, this might be a little weird because you can't see me, but my phone it's dead. Almost dead, and the flash isn't working, and I don't want my car to die, so I should probably turn that off. And I don't even know if you can see me now, but I figured it's not really about looking at me. I think just getting the point across, and I think my Subaru will looks pretty good. But if you look at my last video, it was a long time ago. I believe the last time I posted was in February. A lot has happened since February. A lot of good things and a lot of bad things. And the best way that I can describe where I'm at right now, I would say I'm in the best place in my life, but also the worst place in my life in terms of literally right now in this exact moment. I would say it's been pretty bad the past almost 2 weeks. When my first video, I believe I shared why I felt like I wanted to make videos. And I believe that I will make more, and more will, where you definitely will see my face, and where I'll be more structured, and I'll have a lot more time to focus on what I want to say and how I'm going to say it and all of that. But I really I felt like I haven't spoke in general for the past couple days, to God and to people. Even right now, my heart is really heavy. And, the part of the reason why I haven't wanted to post any videos or post any writings is because I felt like I have been in such a dark place that I wasn't supposed to. Like, I had to be in the holy of holiest places to be able to do either of those things. And a couple people have told me that maybe someone out there is not going through the same exact thing as me, but going through something similar, and that it could help someone. It would be better if you could see my face. But I don't know. I don't really know. I don't want this to be a lengthy video. I kind of just want to be so honest and raw. Like I said, a lot has happened since February. I wish I could go into the exact details of how everything has started, but one thing for sure that's happening is back in January, I felt a call to move to North Carolina, and I'm currently living in California, the Bay Area. I have for the past 23 years of my life, and that's my entire life. And just throughout the year of 2019 has just been a huge transition and a huge change and shift just in general in my life. I moved churches, and that was a completely God thing. I say that without going into too much detail, because I felt that shift in my heart as well. And if you know me and you know the love that I have for my old church, you would know that it wasn't an easy thing to do, and it didn't make sense. And I had a lot of questions as to why I just didn't feel like I was supposed to be there. And I know this is like a lot of venting, but like I said, I think that the whole idea of these videos has been for, that one. I hope that anything I say in this video people can resonate, or even if it is just that one person. But when I had felt the move to switch churches, that was just also a time in my life where I felt like everything was just changing. A lot of the things that I used to do, I really felt like I wasn't supposed to do those things anymore. And people in my life, I felt like I weren't supposed to have certain people in my life anymore. And then I had felt called to move to North Carolina, and I was very quiet about that, because I do think that something that's wise is when, God shares something with you to really meditate on that between you and Him. And then when you feel comfortable enough where that that's God sharing that with you, you open up to wise people around you, leaders in the church, or your mentors, or close friends and family who are supportive. And so I started to open up to people, and then I ended up finding a church, and I just came in really broken. I didn't want to open up to anybody. I didn't want to get involved. I just wanted to sit down, listen to the service, and leave. And I did do that, but that didn't happen for a long time at all. Thankfully, the leaders and stuff started to, they started to pick up on me, which is, I believe pastors and leaders should. I think they should look for, the person in the crowd that looks lost, and that's, what a church is for. It's for the broken people. And so I ended up being able to trust people. I made some really great friends and confidants there, and a lot of things that I have given up. Maybe one day I'll be able to share my testimony on here, but I say that I'm in the best place that I've been in my life because everything that I have done so far has been in the pursuit of God. Every decision that I have made, when it comes to literally everything, the people in my life, where I'm attending church, where I'll be moving, where I'm working, like every detail has been, God, is this what you want for me? And it's been challenging, but He's been speaking to me more clearly than I've ever heard Him speak before. And I have felt closer to Him, but that's not because I've become, I would say, better. I would just say that's because I've done what the Bible tells me so, and that's the spending more time with Him, spending more time in the Word, asking more questions to the pastors around me, and just going deeper and diving deeper in my relationship with God. And like I said, making everything just making Jesus at like the core of everything that I do. But with that, you obviously know that there's more struggles and more obstacles, and the more that you're gonna start obeying what God has for you, the more that the enemy is gonna do everything he can to just speak lies into you. And a few things that God has made clear to me and God has called me to is things that I've been running from for a long time. Things I didn't understand when I wasn't really a Christian, where I wasn't fully pursuing God. Everything that are my gifts and talents, I thought they just came from me, and that I was just like, talented in this aspect or whatever. But the more that I started to understand God, the more that I understood that those are things that he wants me to do for his kingdom. And part of those things is being a communicator, being a writer in terms of writing encouragements or writing a book, writing poems, songs. I've always loved music. That, before I really loved anything, I really believed that I loved music. I've always loved music since as long as I could remember, and I've just always had instruments and everything like that. And I didn't know that all of these things were from God because I didn't know him too well growing up. And now that I can hear better and see better spiritually, God has told me that he wants me to do things. He wants me, and not just me. I should say not just me. I'm talking about myself right now, but he wants all of us to do so much more than we think that we're called to. I don't think that there's just one thing that God ever calls us to do. I think that there could be many, many things, and that we should always go beyond and ask him if you don't know, like, if you're like, God, I just don't feel like I'm doing enough. I have learned that when you speak to him, he'll speak back to you. And I have also learned that sometimes when you speak to him, he's being quiet. And in that aspect, truthfully, I believe that maybe sometimes we just aren't asking the right things. I believe sometimes our heart can have the wrong motivations, and in that regards, ask God to search your heart. And I believe that really humbles you, and then God starts to make things kind of clear. I heard a sermon recently, and the pastor was saying, what is your Jeremiah 29:11? And those who do not know what that says, it goes something along the lines of, God has a future and a plan for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. And when he said, what is your Jeremiah 29:11, the pastor isn't talking about, what are your desires, because as humans, we have many desires of our own hearts. But in terms of what has God shared with you, throughout these months, I've been in one of the best environments I could ever be placed in, and that's because God sent me to the church that I currently am at, and has allowed people to speak into my life, and has allowed me to not be ashamed and to not be afraid of of being judged or anything like that, but knowing that I was walking into a place of freedom. And it might be weird because I'm talking to literally people who do not know me, but I have plenty of dreams that I believe God has called me to. Apart from being a pastor, I believe that there's worship in my heart. And do I want to be a worship leader? Not necessarily. But do I want to do worship? Yes, I do. I don't know if that means releasing songs. I don't know if that means being on a worship team. I'm not really sure. But I know that God has given me a musical talent when it comes to instruments and when it comes to my voice. And I know that He has put a writer's heart in me as well. And there is a book that I have been working on almost since the beginning of the year. And I have, honestly, resources in my life that God has blessed me with, people that God has blessed me with that are published writers and who are editors, and that they've been helping me along the way. All of the steps to take on how to write a book, how to release a book, how to self-publish and all of that. And it is something that I'm taking very serious because this is something that will be released to the world one day, hopefully soon. Because I believe if God tells you to do something and you work with Him and you walk with Him, then it's going to happen. And I believe that sorry, I'm outside. So I was like hearing weird stuff, but I want to do a lot. I really do. But those are the main things. Just being a pastor, and being able to preach, being able to just, lead people into worship, and be able to release my writings in whatever way that I can. And it is Tuesday morning. It is currently around almost 1 or something my time. It's 12:51 a.m. my time. And I am leaving California in a couple days to head off to North Carolina. And everything is very bittersweet right now. And I firmly 100% believe that when you are sometimes even steps away from walking into what God has called you to, I promise you, and I know this to be true, that the enemy will do everything in his power to stop it. And about 2 weeks ago, I felt that. And I have felt that. And I have been very vocal about that with the people that I trust around me. I have seen and experienced things the past 2 weeks where I know that it's not from God, and where somewhere along the way I have let down a guard, unfortunately, and it's put me in a very bad headspace, where I'm literally days away. And like I said, back in January, God told me, you're going to move to North Carolina, and I'm going to have you prepare throughout this year. And so I've known that I would be moving. And then, 2 weeks and just a couple days away from moving, things started to really happen. And it hurts. It hurts a lot. I'm disappointed in myself in a lot of ways, but I want you guys to know that this is real. I wish I could tell you guys how to be strong, but I really don't know how. And I know that the Bible says a million things, and Paul talks about how his weaknesses, gives room for God to make you stronger and stuff like that. And right now that doesn't make sense to me. And if this video is shedding light in some aspects to people, and if God is using the weaknesses that I'm going through right now just to let people know that, if there's someone out there who is literally inches away from doing what God is calling them to, and all of a sudden you're just being attacked, and you're more tempted than you've ever been, and you not only are you tempted, but you have, willingly allowed yourself to be exposed to the sins in your life. I'm right there, literally in it. I'm in the battleground as we speak. I'm in a place in this exact moment where I'm just really angry, and I'm really frustrated, and I'm scared, I'm fearful, I'm all of these things that God doesn't want us to be. And earlier this morning, or yesterday morning, Monday morning, I just said I don't care. I said I don't really care about if I'm gonna sin or not. I want to go back to those things that once I thought fulfilled me, because I don't really care about my relationship with God right now. And I ignored what God was telling me. But what he told me is, even if I'm mad at other people, and I'm disappointed in other people around me, he said, what did I do to you? He said, why are you sinning against me? Why are you angry with me? Why are you upset with me? And maybe for me, it's just the fact that, there's a lot of things that I struggle with, and one of the things I definitely think is control. And so when I hear God's got it in control, don't worry, things are gonna work out, it's I put myself in a place of oh, I'm completely 100% protected then. Oh, I'm completely 100% untouchable then. Oh, I'm never gonna sin again. Oh, I'm gonna be happy forever. I'm gonna be joyful forever. Oh, I'll never go back to that place that I once was. And I end up going right back there. And for me, when things start to kind of go wrong in my life, and when I get angry, everything else kind of starts to happen. And so 2 weeks ago, when things kind of started going downhill, I got really angry. I've been angry since. And because, my heart has been exposed to anger, I have been exposed to past sins that have held me in bondage before. And And I from what I understand, the Bible doesn't talk a whole lot about demons, and it doesn't talk a whole lot about hell and Satan. It talks enough about them, but it doesn't talk a lot. And one thing that you may hear is, what the enemy wants to do is he wants to steal, kill, and destroy you. And I've had more than just one thing stolen from me, where one day God's going to give that back and more. And I do know that, the enemy is trying to take away what God has called me to do right now, and that's to move. You see in the Bible all of these stories about, just God sending people, just sending them on, journeys, and mind you, on donkeys and on foot. And sometimes he told people where to go, and sometimes he told people, I just want you to go this way. And they don't know where they're going, but they know that God's sending them. And, there's a lot of things to do when you surrender your heart to God. And, one of those things is to know that he may send you. And, your response is to say, here I am, send me. And if you know me, you know that I am one of the most stubborn people. And everything that I said I would never do, God has said no. Anything from the desire of wanting to be a mother, I did not want to be a mother, and God gave me that desire. I did not want to be a wife, and God gave me that desire. I did not want to be a pastor, and God gave me that desire. I never wanted to sing in front of people, and God gave me that desire. I never wanted to release my writings, and God gave me that desire. I never wanted to speak, ever, in terms of like what I'm doing right now, preaching, anything like that. I never wanted to do that. And one of the things, I always knew that I would move to Colorado and one day that will happen. But other than that, I said that I would never leave California until I left to Colorado. I said I will never be anything remotely compared to a missionary. I said I will never move to another state and then to another state and then to another state. I said nope, it will only be California and Colorado, and that's it. And God has almost given me a map of places that he has given me a heart for, and where I believe he is saying, you will go there before Colorado. And even places in California, for the past 3 or 4 years, I've lived in places for 1 year, and he has moved me around in different cities where I'm at right now. And each place that I've been at, each home that I've been at, and each people that I've been with, it's been a different journey, and I've learned something else. And one of my friends said that he was like, I wouldn't even consider it's a joke, but he was saying that some of the places he wouldn't even consider a home, but he would consider an experience. He was like, no, when you lived there, you weren't living there, you were experiencing. I don't know if anyone's gonna listen to this. I'm already at 30 minutes, but yeah, so far on the map that God told me to go to first, he said to go North Carolina, and it's been so funny seeing all of the people around me response, and it's been very intimidating because there's been two things throughout this year that people have been asking me, and it's, why North Carolina, and are you ready to move? And a lot of it's like, it's kind of intimidating, especially when you're talking to an unbeliever, and even when you're talking to a believer and you just say, I felt called to go, and I have to be obedient to that. I have to be obedient to God's voice. And some people really question you. Some people really have told me that it was just something that I wanted. People have told me, you're just running away. Some people have told me, this is not God, this is just what you want. And once again, if you know me, you would know that actually, if it was up to me, I would stay here. And North Carolina is super random, North Carolina, and specifically Charlotte, is the call that I felt to go. I'm not going to Raleigh or, anywhere else in North Carolina, but it is specifically Charlotte. And, I believe 100% that is from God. I don't know if you guys, oh no, you guys can't see that. There's a skunk who's literally just like staring at me, and I'm in my car. And there's another one over there, but you can't see it either. But and I can't even tell you how long I'm gonna be in North Carolina for. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is it's Tuesday, and I'm supposed to leave Friday. And if I continue to be in this headspace, I believe that God can take away something in a moment. This is an honor and a blessing to be chosen and called by God. And everyone is chosen, everyone can be equipped, but I think it's something along the lines of like, many are called but few are chosen. And what that means is every single person on this earth is a child of God and is chosen by God in terms of like acceptance, and like, we're all God's children and sons and daughters, but not everyone is going to follow the call that God has for them. Even Christians, I hear it all the time from Christians where they say, I know that God has called me to do that, but we'll see how it works out. And that's because they don't want to. I did that from the age of, there's a raccoon. I from the age of 5 years old till I was 20 and a half, I was pursuing to be a police officer. Yes, when I was 5 years old. And I knew in the back of my mind that that wasn't what I was supposed to do. But all those years, I did not want to follow what God had for me. And maybe some of you are in that boat. But, I can't like continue to go down where I've already been before. I know what it's like to live in sin. And when you live in sin, you're just so unhappy. You're so, like, you just feel really dirty and, like, disgusted by yourself. You're disappointed. You're ashamed. You're guilty. Like, you're all of these things that it just feels like it takes a toll on you. Because you just feel like garbage. And you just feel like you hate yourself. And that you're not good enough. And you start to put yourself exactly where the enemy wants you, because you're in the presence of sin. You're not in the presence of God. And I know that there's just been a lot of talking in this video, and it's already 36 minutes long, but it's just important to know that even when you're in your absolute worst and you're turning away from God, and where you have those moments where you can't even look at yourself in the mirror. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you can't even recognize yourself. And when all of these people are reminding you of like, quote unquote, who you are, and like all the things that God is saying about you, and like visions and prayers, and you don't understand it, you don't believe it, because you just think that you're not good enough, He still loves you. He still loves you even after you sin, even before you sin. And there's one of the things that He delights in more than anything, and that's when you apologize. That's when you own up to your mistakes. And that's called repentance. That's called asking God for forgiveness. That's saying, you are God and I am not. And I wish I could tell you how to run away from sin, because I don't really know how to do that right now. But the only thing I do know is that I'm less than about 4 days away from leaving California and going to where God has called me. I know that Satan hates me, but God loves me. I know that God has called me and has a specific calling on my life. And I just gotta do it. I got a Nike, And so do you. A lot of us do. And to whoever hears my voice, just know that God's face shines upon you, even when you can't see it, even when you can't feel it. Know that God's watching you. He's watching over you. He wants the best for you. He's believing in you. And He's never going to stop until your very last breath. He's never going to stop loving you. He's never going to stop chasing you. He will never force you to do anything, but He will always remind you of who you are and what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to be doing. And you can run, and you can ignore what people are saying, and you can ignore the voice of God. But He will always gently remind you. And I apologize for the 40-minute long video. And I'm sorry that you couldn't see my face. But sometimes it's good to speak things out loud, because I can tell you that throughout this video, God has spoken to me, because everything that I have said has been under His authority, and things that I had felt that He was telling me to share, and He was speaking to me based off of my own failures that I had decided to do. Because yes, we fail, but we are not failures. Yes, we can be dumb, but we are not dumb. I'm excited. I'm excited to post more content. And I honestly want to do more than just like preaching. I don't know, that means vlogs or something, but I'm just ready to be more creative for God. And I'm back, baby. I'm back. And I can't say that I'll post videos every Saturday. But I will be posting videos. And it's been a long time, but I'm back. Okay. I don't know how many people are gonna watch this video, but I believe I have a couple of subscribers. I don't know if my comments are gonna be on or off. I don't really know what's going on with that. But to any strangers who come across this video, stick around. Stick around, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. I have a lot more exciting things coming up, and we're better together. Okay? Alright. I gotta work on the outros of this thing, but peace.